Hi, Jaliqua here. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to focus on learning how to center. So if you're new to the wheel, you would have worked out pretty quickly that learning how to center is the key to it all. And I've broken it down into some simple steps. So hopefully these steps will make your centering instinctive, habitual, and lift your pottery up into the A game. So let's check these steps out. So we're going to make sure we're nice and comfortable at the wheel, and we're going to make sure our balls of clay are nice and round, and really compact them onto the wheel head and make sure we've got that conical shape, which is, our first step. Coning is really just to get us started on the wheel, to get us going and actually begin that journey of centering. So also make sure those elbows are really tucked in. One of the big problems that we have when people are learning is that their arms start flaying around and basically the clay starts controlling you. It's actually up to you to control the earth, not the earth to control you. Okay, this next step here is pancaking, and I'll just point out that I'm actually a right-hander. So I will have my left hand wrapped around the cone, grab hold of my thumb, and I'm going to almost be hitting this cone of clay with a karate chop and putting pressure down to force that clay downwards. My left hand allows the clay to come down, but my right hand puts most of the pressure. That palm of my hand is actually putting a bit of pressure to make sure that it doesn't go out of shape. Even my little finger gets involved there. And these pancakes, we love making them. We also love eating them here. So yes, next step. Okay, once we've had our pancakes, we're ready to center and open up. And yet again, we're going for that cone setup, thumb up in the air, and we're going to put a bit of downward pressure on that cone. And this time we're going to actually begin the journey of pushing the clay back up as well. And we want to be pushing it up and down. And we're looking to feel for any imperfections that might be occurring on this dome of clay. And even our little finger, if it feels a bit of resistance, will tuck in and straighten it up. And the hand on the side is actually looking to make sure that there's no imperfections on the side, and you can see the top hands moving across as well to make sure everything's nice in line. Once you got it centered, you can give yourself a mark from the middle across the side, and that'll give you an indication of where center is. And I'm going to use my thumbs to open up and have my fingers on the outside supporting what's going on. So as I open up, those fingers on the outside are very important, and in that they keep the shape of the form. If you don't have any support on the outside, it'll tend to go off center again. And then wrap your hand around and compress the inside. So you can see from the top view there, I'm really compressing the base, and that will help with any possibility that there may be some little cracks that develop later on in the pot's lifetime. But in this case, a bit of compression, get rid of any moisture that might be in there, nice and dry. So, don't forget to collar in. Collaring in is like grabbing hold of your pot and saying, hey, buddy, you're not moving in that direction. I want you to move where I want you to move. I don't want you just flaring out. So it's a very important step. Otherwise, we end up with making lots of bowls. So this teaches you control, and you control what the pot's doing. Even when you make a bowl, you should collar in a little bit. So controlling the form. There's a natural tendency for the clay to want to flare out when you're throwing because of the speed of the wheel. So control that form. Alright, so your centering is pretty similar. Still put that little mark across there, early days. and that's where you're going to open up. And once we've opened up, we're going to focus on looking at collaring that form in, making sure it's nice and contained. Just remembering those fingers on the outside are very important, and compressing that base, another very important step. Have that thumb and those fingers on the outside supporting what's going on the inside, and then we can collar in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have our thumb on around about a 6 o'clock position, and our knuckles almost at around about 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to close them up as we're coming up the form to collar it in. Okay, so we want a nice solid platform, that nice conical shape. We're going to compress that rim, give ourselves a little bit of a mark down the bottom, and that's where we're going to start our journey to bring that pot up. So that's collaring in. Okay, so we're building up the steps, and we're heading towards that final cylinder step. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and number 4, collaring in. Very, very important step. The cylinder. So this is where we put it all together, and we actually managed to make form, get that cylinder up. We put all our ingredients that we've started off, those first 4 steps: coning, pancake, opening up, and collaring in. So this is the first step, coning and pancake. Then we're going back up and remembering we want to have that feeling like there's almost nothing going on between our hands. Little finger tucked in, making sure that we're moving up and down, no resistance, elbows locked in, strong at the wheel, and importantly, breathing in. And don't forget to breathe out. Don't breathe out, it's a problem. Okay, and we're almost there, centered, and remembering to give yourself that little mark, and that's where you're going to open up using our thumbs. Wrap our fingers around, thumbs down, nice and controlled. I should mention that speed-wise, when we're centering, we're going, maybe about 70-80% speed. Once we're opening up, we reduce it probably to about 60% of foot speed. We need that power when we're centering. We need power. When we're opening up, we need a little bit of power because it's an aggressive stage. And when we collar in, we also need a little bit of speed. Now, we're checking how deep we are with that needle there. We want around about a centimetre, and then you can just close that little hole that you've created with the needle. And whenever you open up, remember just to compress that rim, controlling the rim and making sure it's nice and centered. And here we go, that really important step of collaring it in. Run that sponge yet again across that rim, and you may have to collar in again. You can notice that every time you collar in, you gain a bit of height, and you're trying to create that nice strong form. Give yourself a mark, and now you're going to imagine your hand is a finger puppet of a dog. So you can see those 2 fingers in the middle there, that's the dog's head, and the 2 ears on the outside. The bottom of the dog's mouth is the thumb, and that is going to work with your other finger to pull the clay up from the outside, and on the inside you'll have your 2 fingers on the inside. So initially you're going to be going, around that 60% speed with the wheel down the bottom, and because it's aggressive, you're going to be trying to bring some of that clay further up. So from this point here, little bit of speed, and then you might ease back on the speed here. But it's not a jerky action, it's a slow action. Eventually, as your throwing gets better, you won't even think about using the pedal. You won't even think that you're reducing the speed. The pedal of the wheel is your get out of jail card. So if throwing pots is Monopoly, your get out of jail card is your pedal, because that's what you use to reduce the speed, and if it's going a bit too fast and getting away from you, just ease back on the speed. It saves you. Okay, a little bit more pressure with those fingers on the outside. come back and use that sponge just to collar it in. Okay, and making sure that there's not a huge amount of water left on the inside of your form. Just use that to squeeze some of it out. Don't overdo the water, but you know, water is really important. It's the oil between you and your the clay. Now this is the angle tool. Angle tool, one of my favorite tools to just trim some of that excess clay off down the base. And now I'm going to use two of my favorite tools, a sponge on a stick on the inside, and then on the outside I've got a metal kidney that I'm just going to hold at an angle, and I'm going to run the sponge on the stick to meet the metal kidney on the outside, just to straighten that wall up a little bit. And from the top section I can just use my fingers and use the kidney just to clean it up as well. Okay, so as you're throwing, sometimes you find that the top of your pots, they become a bit irregular. You might have held down too long at one point. They've gone a little bit off center. You haven't compressed the rim enough. So you may need to cut the top of your pot with your needle. So not an ideal habit to get into, but you know, it happens to everyone. So sometimes the top of that thing just gets a bit off center. So look, we'll just give it a tap. Yep. Now I don't make this a habit of whacking your pots, but this is just a demonstration on how to use the needle to cut the top of that clay and get rid of that imperfection that you've got up there. We'll cut that off, and then we'll come back and revisit that rim with the sponge. Nice and compressed, a little bit of pressure. As I was saying before, once we get to this stage, speed-wise, we reduce the speed a little bit. This is a shaping kind of stage. It's you know, most of the actions happen. We've got the cylinder, we've got the shape. We're just controlling the shape and maybe smoothing it over, and we don't need to be going really fast. So to cut it off, put a lot of water onto the wheel head. Look at using your cutting wire and go to about halfway and bring it together. If it moves, it should slide off, but just to be sure, yeah, give it another cut, and should be able to slide that off the wheel head and pop it. We're going to pop it out the back here because we didn't have a big enough board, so sequence probably not as ideal, but anyway, we've got the cone, we've got the pancake, we've got opening up, we've got the collaring in, and we've got the cylinder, and he's happy. Thank you. If you enjoyed our clip, please like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.